Hello everyone, it is the Final Hammer here, and today we are going to be talking about Lamb of God's 8th studio album, Lamb of God, self-titled. Now, as to where to start with this thing, I think the first thing we start with is Chris Adler is no longer in the band, and that seemed to be what most of the hype surrounding this album was, is that Chris Adler was no longer in the band. The album was not going to succeed because Chris Adler made the band. However, that was wrong. That was very wrong. While I was pretty fucking heartbroken to find out that Chris Adler left the band because I never got to see him perform with the band. So that's a part of me that I will never get to see and I will always be sad about. But Art Cruz has been killing it. And when I say killing it, I mean fucking slaying it. Art Cruz is an absolute monster on the kit, and that can't be understated. Now, with that out of the way, this is their 8th studio album. Now, what's good about it? Well, I'd say this is one of their best albums since Ashes of the Wake. I'd say one of because you could argue that every single one of their albums is good. Not their best, but good. This could easily be one of their best albums. It is a monumental change in sound and honestly a huge progressive step forward in the band. Like for instance, Roots with Chuck Billy or whatever his name is, the Testament dude. Can't think of it right now. But it sounded so different. Nothing like Lamb of God has ever done before. New Colossal Hate sounded different. There was so much change, so much movement. There was crazy breakdowns in almost every song on top of that. I'd say the only one I didn't really like was Checkmate, and maybe that's just because it sounded like a Resolution bonus track. And I mean, that's up to you whether or not that's bad. To me, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just not something I prefer on a Lamb of God album. However, that's the one bad song on this album, in my opinion. Some of my favorites are Gears. I really like the sound, I like the change, and I love the lyricism. It's something I've noticed with just about every single song on here, the lyrics. They're all incredibly relevant in today's politics and time. It's crazy because this album's been in the works for quite a while, I think since last year. So the fact that they're nailing everything in the head now with music they've written last year is pretty insane to think about. This album was delayed, so it loses points with me there because, god damn it, it broke my heart getting that email. It truly broke my heart. I was heartbroken. I'm still heartbroken. Their concerts got delayed due to COVID, but at least we got this album. I'd say this is in my top 3 Lamb of God albums of all time. The quality is unreal. It feels like there's a new youth almost to the band. Like they're proving something to themselves and to naysayers who don't think that they can go on without Chris Adler. Don't get me wrong, Chris Adler is an amazing drummer, but Art Cruz is the new guy. He's got a huge fucking thing to step up to. Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill. Because Chris Adler is no slouch on the drum. But neither is Art Cruz. Whether it's in Winds of Plague or Lamb of God, he's fucking killing it. And I feel like that was the center of the attention on this album. Not necessarily how good is everyone else going to do. How is Randy going to sound? How is Mark and Willie going to play together? Because they haven't written music in almost 5 years. This is their longest fucking hiatus to date. This is longer than when Randy went to prison. Think about that. This is 5 years. This band got me into everything I'm into today. And I started listening to them in 2015. Right after Sturm und Drang. And I avoided that album too, and that was their newest one, and it's one of my favorites now. So this has been a long 5 years, and a big part of my fear with this album was that it wouldn't live up to the hype. Did it live up to the hype? I'd say fucking so. I give this album a solid 10 out of 10. Every song on this is amazing, unskippable. I've listened to it probably 18 times. Okay, that's a lie. I've listened to it about 5 or 6 times in total. I've listened to, specific songs more than that, but overall, about 6 or 7 times, maybe, actually. Regardless of that, this was a solid release. I think you guys should check it out if you haven't already. Go buy the CD, go buy a shirt, support the band. Because I know a lot of bands are struggling during this time, so t-shirt sales from legitimate merch sponsors is important. Very important for the band. Make sure you get it from actual sources, that the band sells to, so they actually make money. It's an important and hard time for these bands right now. So, on that note, I don't think I have anything else to say. That was the Final Hammer, and God, it feels so fucking good to actually talk about a new Lamb of God album. You have no idea. No idea. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed.